Hello, and welcome back to the Misty Morrison Podcast. I'm your host, Misty Morrison, and this is episode 38 of Petty Please. Here on the Misty Morrison Podcast, we love to judge, we love to give advice, we love all the petty drama. So before we get into our stories for the day, our usual housekeeping, whether you are new or returning, please remember to engage with the content to help the channel grow. Whether you are listening on podcast, watching on YouTube, watching shorts on YouTube, TikTok, Reels on Instagram, or Facebook, please remember to rate, review, like, subscribe, comment with your thoughts on stories down below, share it with a friend if you liked it, all the things. I post new full-length episodes every Tuesday and Thursday at 5 a.m. And all of my shorts go live twice a day, 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. every single day. All right, into our stories for the day. Story number 1 is coming to us from r/entitled people. So, not paying car payment. Sorry, I've never posted for myself on here, so be kind. I co-signed a loan for my son. He is now 2 months behind on said loan. He does this occasionally, but normally pays. He is married to someone very young who likes to shop, and she has put a wedge between us, and now we can't even see his kids. So I am sick of getting calls from the loan company and no response from him as to when he's going to pay it. Plus, this puts a hit on my credit score. Would it be wrong of me to go get the vehicle and keep it? Why should I have to pay for the car when he is driving it and makes good money? Plus, won't let me see my grandkids. I know if I sell it, I will have to have his signature since he's also on the loan. How can I refinance it and get his name off of it? We've helped him out tons with no expectations of him paying back, but this is making me feel like he thinks he's entitled because he thinks we can afford it. Yes, we can, but I'm sick of doing for them and being treated like crap. What can I do to get this car out of his name? I don't believe, I could be wrong, but I don't believe there is a legal way for you to get it out of his name without his signature. And you don't want to get it repoed because then that also looks really bad on your credit. It sounds like your best option is just to go get it, keep it, and make the payments yourself and keep it for yourself. That kind of sounds like the only thing, but I wonder too, if he's this entitled, if you come and take it, would he try to file it as stolen? I don't think he could if your name is on it, but lots of things to consider, especially with his entitlement and also the woman he married. Let me see. Okay, so the OP has been really active in the comments on this one. First up, there is a gold box comment that says, I mean, he is entitled because you let him get away with stuff. Fair assessment. OP comments to that, or replies to that, I agree, but it has to stop. Him not letting me see the grandkids has definitely changed my thoughts on helping him. I just want off the loan or him off of it. Anyone know how I can do this? You are in the wrong subreddit for this. You need legal advice. Then someone else has a gold box comment that says, this is a legal situation. You need legal advice. Grandkids are not transactional and should not factor into this scenario. Yes. You co-signed the loan for your son. You are financially responsible. You need to speak to a lawyer. You are also blaming the mother for not allowing you to see the kids, but your son is presumably an adult and the father of these kids. So what is the reason for the lack of access? My parents co-signed my first apartment rentals when I was just out of college. I never missed a payment because I respect my parents and value their support. They also helped with the down payment on my house, but that doesn't entitle them to live in my house, nor access to their grandkids. They have access to my kids because they are good human beings. Ooh. OP replies, she is mad because I found out from her mother that they are drinking and driving with the kids in the car. She was not old enough for my insurance to cover her driving it. I told them to get their own insurance and they did. I told them I would call CPS if they continued to drive with the kids in the car. She got pissed. Oh, I don't care if she is pissed about that. I am a mandated reporter and a good mom and grandma. She is very immature. If you're a mandated reporter, why didn't you report it? If you're mandated, okay, Next comment. If you're a mandated reporter, you shouldn't just threaten and should call. You shouldn't just threaten and should just call CPS. There should be no leniency here. Those kids are in danger if they're being driven by a drunk person. Next comment says, and there's another gold one coming up. Next comment says, right? You can't use I'm a mandated reporter as a threat. You protect the kids rather than control adults with reporting threats. OP replies, I did end up calling because they told me they wouldn't do it anymore, and I found out that they still were. Gold box comment, CPS investigator here. As a mandated reporter, you are required to report child abuse and neglect when you know and or suspect it is occurring. You don't wait to report the neglect of children until after the person promises not to do it anymore, then does it again. This is how children end up critically injured or dead. Let's see. Okay, I don't see any more comments from OP. I imagine they read that last gold box one and they were done with the sub. But yeah, that's fair. Like, if you are a mandated reporter and you take not only your responsibility but also child safety seriously, it's not a question. If you knew they were doing it, you make the report. Because at least if you make the report, you know that you did the right thing and then it's out of your hands. Oh, we don't normally read that many comments. That was quite a bit. And also, I feel like it didn't have a question in the title, or I would have moved it to Was I in the Wrong? But on to the next. Story number 2 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. I faked a haunting when I was 12. Okay, this is interesting. It's kind of long too. To preface, I'm the youngest of 3. At the time, I was female 12 and the oldest child was female 15. She was going through a phase of teen angst and was really a terror to be around, so I retaliated whenever I could, in secret. Even going as far as gluing all her items down to her dresser with super glue after she was mean to me. I don't remember exactly what happened, unfortunately. But for example, she had candles glued down and glued shut, perfumes glued down and glued shut. Even her deodorant was glued down to the dresser and glued shut. Funniest thing is, my parents were also getting aggravated with her, so they didn't even ground me for it. But they did ground me for lying about it when I was confronted by them. Now to get to the story. We had a family friend pass away abruptly, and prior, she had been staying with us. She didn't get along the best with my sister, as she was, again, rude to her, but sister was still upset after she passed. We'll call the family member Mary for easier context. Mary was in her last trimester of pregnancy the first few months she was with us, and ended up having her baby and staying with us a bit after until some things happened and she moved out. She was notorious for drinking Diet Coke and loved lemon pepper seasonings. She put it on everything while pregnant and drank around a 2-liter of Diet Coke daily. This will give context later. Fast forward a few months. After she passed away and my sister had been given me crap about something. Again, I can't remember what it was, but I was pissed. She had stashed some chips in her room, so I took them when she wasn't home and coated them in cayenne pepper. Oh boy. Around a week later, she asked me if the chips smelled like lemon pepper seasoning to her, and that's when I got the idea. I agreed and said they definitely had been coated in lemon pepper, and that's odd, and made a joke that Mary was getting revenge for all the time sister was rude to her. After a few days, sister was again being a terror and stormed out of the house. I got another idea. Mary's room hadn't been fully cleaned out yet, so I found some half-drink Diet Coke 2 liters and shoved them under her bed. One in her closet and one in her dresser to really seal the deal. The next day, she found the one in her dresser and freaked out, thinking Mary was haunting her. A few days passed and she found the one in her closet and again freaked out about it. Finally, after a month or 2, when things calmed down, she cleaned her room and behold, the Diet Coke stash under her bed. At this point, she was petrified that Mary was coming back to haunt her because of how she treated her. Even tried to convince my mom we needed to hire a priest. After that, I figured I'd relax with the Mary pranks because I was starting to feel bad about it. To this day, I don't think I've ever actually told her the truth behind it, but she also could have forgotten it even happened by now. My mom was eventually told by me what happened, and she was mad at me at first, but came around and laughed it off sooner or later. I don't think my sister uses this Reddit forum, but in case she does, I'm sorry, and so is Mary. Oh, I mean, that's pretty good. That's kind of genius. Yeah, I mean, the gluing everything down was good. Destructive, but good. But I like the haunting prank. That's a good one. Okay, story number 3 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. Dressed down, so I stood up. I worked in an office where they promoted a very new, unexperienced, unqualified suck-up from an entry-level guy to a team lead. One of 3 under the manager. There were roughly 30 people on the team. HR rules stated that he wasn't allowed to apply due to having been at the company for less than 1 year, had 0 leadership experience, etc., etc. Grievances were filed with HR and dropped despite multiple, fully qualified individuals with spotless records being in the running. He was known to be a suck-up and wasn't really liked prior to his promotion. After the promotion, he was wildly hated, apart from a couple psychopaths. Quite entertaining in retrospect how people will degrade themselves for the barest scraps of power. Anyways, middle management knew he was reviled and told him he had to find a way to get people to like him. His solution was not required, but you should think of them as required. Happy hours every month. For the first one, most everyone felt like they had to go and start figuring out how to fit it into their schedule. Some of these people had an hour drive each way and were finding sitters for their kids. These people were terrified they would lose their jobs if they missed drinking a few beers with the boss. I should note that he has roped in everyone under the manager. I'm not even technically under this guy. I knew my rights and declined the invite. He comes by my cube a few times in the day of to try to pressure me into being there. Dude, there is no way I'm spending my free time with work people. You can either keep me on the clock or you can't ask me to be there. I know my rights. I liked my team members well enough, had been to parties at their houses, etc., but I'm not going out with the team lead under any circumstances. Team lead did not like that and walked away in a huff. Next day, everyone comes in and everyone is pretending like they had fun when it's very clear they're just trying to get away from team lead's attempts at chumming with them. Around 10, we have a stand-up, and he talks about how great it was to have everyone at the thing. Then he singles me out, talks about how antisocial I am, and how management notices when people aren't team players. Don't skip required events, etc. LOL. Okay, dude. About 20 minutes later, I emailed the entire team. Hey all, team member, asked me about required after-work events that are unpaid, so I figured I'd share with everyone. State statute, blah blah, says that for hourly employees like us that we can't be required to go to these sorts of things without being on the clock. So if you can't find a sitter and can't make it, you don't need to worry at all. Totally friendly, totally non-confrontational, totally effective. Team lead sat by himself at the bar for the next 2 required but not required happy hours and had to find another way to force people to like him. I don't feel like this lasted long. I hope it didn't last long. This was 9 days ago. Let me see if there's any comments. I don't see any comments from OP. I mean, but yeah, that, like, he literally handed you the opportunity to shut him down. And I'm really glad he did, because that was so unfair for, like, your coworkers who are finding sitters to go spend their evening, their free time, doing a thing they didn't want to do with a person they don't like. I feel bad for them. In my mind, I'm like, they should have known they didn't have to. But also, even when things are not required or are illegal, I can understand where people will feel pressured to do those things for fear of retaliation at work. Even though that's not legal, we know what happens. Well done. Story number 4 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. My damn dad. I was in the military stationed overseas. I came back and of course headed to see mom and dad. For the longest time, they had a condo on Revere Beach north of Boston. I'm sitting there talking with them when the phone rings. Mom's eyes roll. Dad gets up and answers the phone. Next thing I see, he has a piece of paper in front of him and is rattling off numbers. The 15B, the 17A, okay, 20 minutes. He sits down and goes back to the conversation where it was left off. I'm like, whoa, hold the phone, literally. What was that all about? New Chinese restaurant. He hands me their menu. Really, really good too. Mom chimes in. Right up the street. Walking distance. They're the best. Dad grumbles. Our number is 3391. Their number is 3397. Effers who can't put on their glasses before dialing can go hungry. Oh my goodness. Edit. I am sure the only reason Mom let him do this, she probably tried to tell people they had the wrong number and they got shitty with her. That's awesome. Yeah, because how many people are you going to tell, hey, you've got the wrong number, or correct them, give them the right number? I probably would have too. That's funny. Hopefully that Chinese restaurant will eventually request to get a new number. Let's see. There is a gold box comment first thing that says, haha, in college we had 2 exchanges in town, 782 and 783. Our number was 782 1234. The pizza joint was 783 1234. Made up numbers. The guy at the pizza place was an ass. So we made a deal with his competition. We took the order, called the other place, and placed the order. This was back when you paid the driver on delivery. Happened 5 or 10 times a week. He gave us free or discounted food in exchange. That's brilliant. There's some joking comments right after says he gave you a slice of his profits. And then nice to see a bit of dough. And then a piece of the action. Yeah, that's very entrepreneurial. I like it. Okay, that was funny. Story number 5 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. Contact me inappropriately, 2 can play that. I teach a course at the local college. I have learned the hard way not to give out my personal phone number. I used to get called by students at 11:30 p.m. or later on a weekend for a question that could have waited for class. The official policy of the school is all contacts should go through email. I use GroupMe to send emergency updates, accident on the road on the way to school, the student will be absent late. Of course, students direct message me. The new generation seems to think we should be available 24/7 to answer questions that they can just look at the handouts to answer. Thank the maker for do not disturb mode. On Thanksgiving, one student messages me in the middle of dinner that they have a question. My wife actually wanted to message back for me saying it's inappropriate to contact me on a holiday. I told her, I got this. For my regular job, I get up at 4:40 a.m. I responded to that student right after I got up. I assumed they got the point as they have not replied yet. I love that one. That's great. Yeah, because that is inappropriate for them to contact you after hours, on weekends, on holidays. That's your job, not your life. Yeah, I like that. We have a text thread where I work that certain people are on, and I have it silenced or muted where the notifications don't push through with a sound or a buzz or anything. Like they'll come up on my screen, but they won't push through. Because outside of work hours, I do not have to be available. And so when they start texting on the text thread in the morning at 6 or 7 o'clock, I don't start until 8. I don't have to look at that until 8. That's how I feel about that. It is a work-life balance, and it's important to protect your peace. Story number 6 is coming to us from r/neighbors from hell. Update, it got worse. We had to call the cops. I don't... Okay. We haven't read the original story, but it does give a TLDR. Let me go to the profile to see. If we can find the first one. See, this is 4 days ago. Two days ago. 11 days ago. Oh, wait, no. Oh, I went to the subreddit, not the user's profile. Okay, so this person has 2 posts in r/neighbors from hell. One was 10 days ago and one was 4 days ago. So we will read the first one. So let me save it. Okay, so story number, where were we? Now I've lost track. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, story number 6 is coming to us from r/neighbors from hell. This is the first one of 2. Upstairs kids constantly stomping in studio apartment. This one is labeled "What would you do?" vent/rant. Hi, I never post on Reddit, but my partner and I really need advice. We live in a shitty 350 square foot studio apartment in Connecticut. It is definitely overpriced for what it is, but it is all we can afford right now. It's the cheapest apartment complex in the area. We used to have upstairs neighbors who were loud sometimes, but it was nothing we could not handle. We are very lenient when it comes to noise. About a month ago, new people moved in above us. We first heard kids running and screaming in the hallways, and then we started hearing the same voices directly over our apartment. That is when we realized a family of 4 had moved into the 350 square feet studio above us. There is not even a separate bedroom. It is a true 0 bedroom, fully open concept space. At first, we felt bad and assumed things would calm down. We generally understand that times are tough. We're in a similar boat ourselves. We have never had any complaints while living here, and we have never had issues with anyone else in the building. We actually have a good relationship with the neighbors on our floor, and everyone gets along fine. Because of that, we were really trying to be patient and give this family the benefit of the doubt. However, it's been over a month, and there is constant stomping, running, jumping, bouncing balls, and constant furniture movement from around 8 a.m. until sometimes midnight. They drop heavy things on the floor, and it shakes our entire apartment. A painting even fell off the wall from how hard the impacts were. Sometimes it genuinely sounds like they are going to fall through the ceiling. I lived in a college dorm before this, and it was never anywhere near this loud. Our phones pick up the sound through the ceiling. We both sleep with 2 fans for white noise, and it does nothing because the vibrations cut through everything. Every night around 11 p.m. they drag the beds out, and every morning around 8 a.m. they drag them back. The kids run and jump all day unless they leave, and you can always tell when they get home because it starts again immediately. I nicely emailed our rental management about it over a week ago and never got a reply. Last night, the banging went on until midnight, and I finally reached my breaking point. Today, I called management. The woman on the phone sounded super annoyed and asked if I'd already called last week. I told her no, and that I was following up on the email I never received a response to. She said it was strange I did not hear back and told me they sent out generic noise letters to everyone in the building. She said not to be surprised if we got one too and to ignore it. I tried to explain that this is not normal noise and that our entire apartment shakes. She basically told me she hoped the letter would make them stop. It is not. The banging has been going on all day once again. I'm not even looking for them to move out, and we are also not in a position to move either. I just need ways to cope, or at least get management to take this more seriously. To be fair, our rental company is known to suck, so I guess I should have expected this kind of response from them. Any advice is welcome and appreciated. Oh, that sounds horrible. I mean, you live in Connecticut, you live in a city, so certainly your city has noise ordinances. If management won't take you seriously, call the police. Call the police. Public disturbance. No, it's not public. They're in their own apartment. At least file a noise complaint. File a noise complaint, and then this every time it happens, because most cities will have like their noise ordinances and like the cutoff time, like when, like kind of like quiet hours. So find out when that is, record it, report it. And just every time it happens, report again. That file builds and they escalate each time. Hopefully. Definitely always good to start with management, but if they will not be helpful, move on to authorities. Story number 7 is the update from r/neighbors from hell. Update, it got worse. We had to call the cops. This one is also tagged what would you do event/rant. For those who didn't see my last post, TLDR, my partner and I live in a tiny, overpriced 350 square foot studio apartment in Connecticut. It's the cheapest place we could find, and we've always been super lenient about noise. But a family of 4 recently moved into the identical studio above us, and the noise has become nonstop, to the point that our entire apartment shakes daily from morning to night, and knocks our pictures off the walls. Management is brushing us off, and we don't know what to do. We've been reading through all of your advice, and for now we've decided to wait and see whether the noise complaints management sent out have any effect. For the first 2 days after they were delivered, things actually did seem a little quieter, but then it went right back to the usual level of noise. Throughout the time we've been dealing with these people, we've always had all 3 fans on and just assumed the kids were playing and laughing. But lately we've actually been taking time to stop, turn off all the fans, and really listen. What we're hearing now is definitely not just kids playing. We're hearing loud arguing, slamming, crying, banging, stomping, and what sound like full-on fights happening above us. It's been going on for the last few days, and now we're starting to think this may have been happening all along. We just chalked it up to kids stomping, playing, or running around because we never turned the fans off long enough to really hear what was going on beyond the banging. Last night, the noise was the worst it has ever been. There was repeated banging, slamming, and yelling from both the kids and who I assume are the parents, literally all day. Non-stop. It was getting to the point where it was genuinely draining. My partner and I finally got curious and decided to take a walk to the 2nd floor to see what it sounded like from the hallway. Before I even stepped onto the 2nd floor, I could already hear them from the stairwell. You could hear loud fighting back and forth, the kids stomping and running while yelling, and the TV blasting on top of everything. It honestly sounded like there might be even more than 4 people in that unit. We heard extra voices and what definitely sounded like a baby crying at one point. Unfortunately, I couldn't understand most of what was being said since I don't speak Spanish, but it was booming through the entire hallway. We were shocked by how loud it was, but we went back to our apartment and wrote yet another email to management explaining how bad things have gotten. I told them I've been recording everything for documentation, and I even referenced our lease and our right to quiet enjoyment. I also brought up the fact that we never received the noise notice they claimed they sent out. Either management never actually sent it, or the upstairs neighbors received it, and just don't care, because the situation is only getting worse. Considering management has ignored my last 2 emails and sounded annoyed when I called, we were honestly just trying to figure out what to do next. After we sent the email, we were basically stuck just sitting there and dealing with the banging. The management office is closed on weekends, so our plan was to call first thing Monday and follow up. But instead of letting out, the noise somehow got even worse. The banging and slamming kept escalating. Slam, slam, bang, slam. With the kids crying, and more yelling. By this point, we were starting to get genuinely concerned. My partner then left our apartment to go back upstairs and knock on their door to politely ask if they could quiet down. I feel like that was not the time. That does not sound like the time. But when he went upstairs for the 2nd time, he heard one of the younger children crying in a shrill, high-pitched scream, crying unbelievably hard, and we both clearly made out the dad yelling, "Shut up!" Then there was more slamming echoing through the hallway. He managed to get a recording of it. It didn't sound like a normal tantrum at all. After hearing that, he didn't feel comfortable knocking and came straight back downstairs. I could hear it from inside our apartment too. We came to the conclusion that there might be something seriously wrong going on, so we called for an anonymous wellness check on the non-emergency line for our city. The guy who picked up was extremely understanding and sent out a guy right away, since from what we described, better safe than sorry. We were able to kind of make out when the cop arrived, and the moment they left, everything escalated even further. The kids crying was unbearable, the banging and slamming were relentless, and the arguing and screaming back and forth never stopped. It honestly felt far worse than before we even called. It got to the point where we started questioning ourselves, wondering if we were even hearing things right, or if the cop had actually come at all. After an hour of this, my partner called the non-emergency line one more time just to confirm that the cop had actually come, since it sounded like the situation was getting worse up there. To our surprise, he had. The operator asked if the noise was still ongoing, and we confirmed that it was just as bad, if not worse, than before. They decided it was appropriate to send another officer to check in. About 15 minutes later, the cop arrived. This time we were able to clearly tell when he got there. We heard the door to the upstairs unit open, the kids' screams echoing through the hallway, the knock on their door, and then quiet, followed by the cop opening the hall door to leave. After the second call, they finally settled down. But now I'm just like, F. I had already sent an email to management before all this craziness started, and I feel bad continually bothering them because I don't want to make issues. But this is way beyond normal noise. It's completely unmanageable, and it's honestly starting to feel unsafe. Hearing what was happening upstairs genuinely made us anxious. We're both kind of at a loss because we want management to take this seriously. We thought about switching units or transferring to an upstairs apartment, but I'm not sure if anything is even available. From when we did our walkthrough, it seems like the units may all be taken, and now I don't know if I even want to be on the same hall as these people. What would you guys do in this situation? Any advice? We've never dealt with anything like this before, let alone calling the cops. I feel pretty guilty about it, but it felt necessary. Edit on 12/7. So this was posted 4 days ago. I need a calendar. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. Okay, it was posted 4 days ago. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so the update was also on the same day it was posted, I guess, just at a later time. Update 12/7. Hello all, thank you so much for all of your incredibly helpful advice and comments. This has definitely been an upsetting situation, and we did end up submitting an anonymous report to CPS. What comes out of that, we aren't sure. I hope something good comes out of it. We also are emailing the management company with all the details of last night and the recordings. My partner is also going to call and follow up first thing tomorrow morning with our rental company. We are also checking into potential code or occupancy violations with the unit above us. Thank you to everyone who shared advice on who to reach out to. We'll keep recording what's happening and we'll continue to call the police whenever we hear concerning activity. Very good. Yeah. Honestly, I would probably give up on the management company. Definitely with the rental company trying to get yourselves moved somewhere else. But in the meantime, recording and continually making those reports to the police or CPS and actually finding ways with code violations to potentially get the management company in trouble for not taking the noise complaint seriously. Just recording and reporting, I think, is your best option right now until it gets escalated where it needs to go. So yeah, that is 7 stories for this week's episode of Petty Please. Thank you so much for being here for another episode of the Misty Morrison Podcast. As always, I love chatting with you guys, and I will see you next time for another episode. Bye.